Hi, it's Jameson Fink. I'm part of the Ambassador Project here at On the Boards, and I'm sitting with Rainbow Fletcher, who I got to see. Well, I got to see the choreographed performance last night of at New Northwest New Works. I keep fucking that up. I always say New Works Northwest, so Northwest New Works. They call it something else next year. It's too confusing for me. But I really enjoyed watching the performance last night, and what's really cool about this discussion with you is this is the first time I've actually seen someone's performance at Northwest New Works and then got to talk to them about it, so I'm really excited. But before we start, let me pour you a little wine. It's kind of a warm day out, muggy, maybe a little muggy for Seattle, so I brought a Spanish rosé, and it's dry. I love dry rosé. I think it's really refreshing, and it looks pretty in the glass too. It's aesthetically pleasing and it has a pleasing taste. So, cheers.
Cheers.
So, was last night the debut?
It was, yeah.
And it's when Jupiter and Saturn met. So, how do you feel?
I feel really good.
Good.
Relieved.
One of the things there are a couple things I noticed when I was in the audience watching. One was I've never seen as many ski masks in one place at one time.
Yeah.
I thought about like the way my mind works, like when you go to the store, you're like, I would like 15 ski masks.
It was awkward.
Yeah, people are like they're like 911 or they're gonna report a bank robbery or something like that.
The first time they asked if I was starting a gang, and I was like, well, sort of.
Yeah, you are. Yeah.
And then I forgot to. I miscounted, so I had to go back the next day, and the guy gave me a real weird look then.
I hope you got a volume discount or something.
No.
No?
They're cheap though.
That's weird. And I also, one of the things I noticed too was, so you have people dancing, and then you have video projected in the background, and it's of a couple people in the woods. Where was that shot? It was really evocative.
That was a park on Capitol Hill on kind of by the freeway entrance, close to where you would get on to go towards the U District. I don't know the name of that park, but yeah.
I don't either, and I've lived in
kind of
Capitol Hill for 10 years.
there.
I can't believe that. It was so close to where I live. It looked like it was like, I thought you were deep in the woods.
Yeah, we were going to shoot it in Issaquah, or Tiger Mountain. I think it's in Issaquah.
Mm-hmm.
And then they decided that this was even better, and it was really hidden where you couldn't see, streets or anything, so.
No, you fooled me.
Yeah.
I know it's not about fooling people, but I was fooled. Well, it was transportive. We'll talk about when you had the idea for when Jupiter and Saturn met. That was it. You thought like, I'm going to have this, dance element and then this film projected in the background. Did you kind of come up with both at once, or did one follow the other, or how did that come to be?
Yeah, well, I knew as a challenge I was really looking forward to trying to work with a filmmaker, because I've never had video in any of my pieces before.
Oh wow, so this is the first.
Yeah, so that was totally a first, and I followed Christian's work, and I really liked what he does, and knew him through some friends, and thought, why not give it a whirl? And basically we knew that we wanted to have both. We weren't sure if we wanted it to happen the whole time, like while the dance parts were happening, or on and off, and originally it was going to be more like a seated conversation between those two characters, and it evolved into this kind of more abstract outdoors landscape, really sweeping, picturesque instead, which I think I like better.
Yeah, no, I thought it was great. And one of the things I was thinking about is when you're looking at something projected onto a screen, and something I've talked about some of the other artists who've incorporated that into their pieces for Northwest New Works, is technology, and like when something's projected on a screen, you can't help but stare at it. It's like all we do is stare at screens most of the day, and like kind of like for myself, I'm like watching the screen, and then I'm like, should I be watching down here? Like, I like my gaze, like I didn't know where to go. Maybe that was a good thing, or just like that was my way of interacting with the piece. I mean, what's your goal of when someone's in the audience? Do you want them to have their own thing, or do you want them kind of moving back and forth, or kind of seeing them both as one?
Right. I definitely played around with that idea a bunch, because I didn't want it to be a distraction from the dance, or vice versa. I really wanted, anytime the film was up, to not have the dancers be taken away, and so I tried to accomplish that. There's a couple of spots where it overlaps slightly, but I think that's okay too. It kind of blends those two different worlds that are happening, ties it together a little bit.
Yeah, I thought it was really effective. I thought, one didn't if it's like a nice line, sort of balance.
Yeah.
One part didn't overtake the other to its detriment. And the other thing too is being on that big main stage. I was doing some research on your background and doing things at Can and like that tiny little stage. And then what's it like to have like this? I mean, comparatively massive amount of real estate on the boards.
I mean, I treasure any time I get to do it for sure.
Yeah.
And it feels really good, to be able to spread out. And I think that shows in the piece of really that desire to want that to happen. And that's partly why I wanted a really big cast this time, because I don't have the option of that at Can. And that in itself, is a really interesting challenge to work with, like having such a small stage and how to make it interesting still, the same, 5-6 people that we have. So for me, it's a different kind of challenge, but I was excited to be able to do it. I mean, even being able to like jump or
sure.
like that kind of stuff. Or have wings, all of that. So we all excited about it. There's a few of the dancers that are in the piece work with me at Can also, so they were looking forward to that too.
Yeah, like you can stretch
being
your
able to run across the stage. Totally.
Enjoy it while it lasts.
Yeah.
I also saw you did a TEDx talk too.
Yes.
On desire. What was that like? I mean, do you do a lot of just like talking in front of people like that? Was that a different experience? Or how did you feel after you did it?
I think I had definitely like a state of shock happening afterwards. I was really kind of shook up from it, but at the same time, it was another challenge, and I couldn't turn it down. I felt really uncomfortable doing it. It was not my thing, but I was impressed with myself for doing it, and now I feel more comfortable when I do little things like this. It's just like, okay, I've done this other major one.
Who knew your TEDx talk was in preparing for something, like for being in the green room and on the boards?
Not having notes, all that, it was definitely hard.
That's true. Yeah, you don't have notes. I noticed that. Yeah, you have to sort of how much of that is like extemporaneous or improv, or is it all?
Oh my gosh. Well, I memorized pretty much everything because I was too nervous to really improv. But I found that I think that actually would have gone a lot better if I was more comfortable improving.
Yeah.
Because as soon as I would get off track, it was like I'm just staring out into oblivion, and there's a timer ticker thing going down by your feet that you see the whole time.
Yeah.
So, it was good in that way too, to remember to be flexible and kind of allow yourself to improv in the moment a little bit too, just like with dance.
Yeah. So after seeing, my thoughts after seeing the performance last night was, after watching it, if I see it a week from now, a month from now, or a year from now, how much would it change? Do you look at things and are like, I want to adjust this or tweak that, or is it like sort of an ongoing, like a living thing?
I think so. I've already talked to them about wanting to do it again, and not necessarily that it has to be an evening length, but I definitely want to expand on it. I think there is still some new ideas that were sparking even from watching it last night in the audience, and there was a few things that we didn't get to in the process that I think would be cool to have the chance to really dive into more. And same with all the dancers really felt like they were just now figuring out the backstory of the piece and kind of what they wanted to put into it with their performance, and that just kind of we all felt started happening within the last week of teching and last few rehearsals. So, and Christian wants to do more too. He has more footage.
Great.
We have a ton of footage from that day, so hopefully,
Well, I look forward to seeing that.
Yeah.
Well, Rainbow, thanks for chatting with me. It was great to it's great to talk with people before their performance and then see it, and I have that sort of my conversation with them in their mind. But it's also really fascinating to be able to talk to someone after I've seen the performance.
Totally.
So I enjoy it both ways. So thanks for joining me, Rainbow.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Cheers.